speech. So should we say that English has a tone, English has a tone? It's a tone language? No. In this case, English is using an intonation. So it's not a tone language. So friends, today we are going to discuss on this salient issue, perception of tone. Now I'm going to share my screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, Bisakha.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So the focus will be, what is the tone language? And then understanding tone in relation to stress, accent, and pitch. Then pitch in a tone language and in a non-tone language. Then level pitch and gliding pitch. Perception of tones in Mandarin, tones in Thai Khamti, tonal contrasts, and then perceptual confusion and tonal sandhi. So here we go. What is the tone language? In a tone language, tone is a feature of the lexicon being described in terms of prescribed pitches for syllables or sequences of pitches for morphemes or words. Or more informally, pitch distinguishes the meanings of words. As for instance, there are in Thai Khamti, just one word with one syllable, we have ma, 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 ma. And if we have sequences of pitches for morphemes or words, let me give you an example of Mandarin. Fan chang, fan is a high rising pitch, and chang is a low dipping pitch, falling and rising. So fan chang is a sequences of pitches for two syllables of a word. So this is just an example, and we'll come to more examples. We see the tonal languages in major East Asian languages such as Mandarin, Vietnamese, Burmese, and then Thai Kadai languages. We see tones. Now let us try to understand tone in relation to stress, accent, and pitch. So this is just a revision from a book of phonetics and phonology. Stress. First we come to stress. Now the term stress is related to loudness. Or more commonly, stress is a conventional level for the overall prominence of certain syllables over others within a linguistic system. So in this sense, stress represents the combination of factors such as pitch, loudness, duration. Now, if we take English words like over, supper, China, broken, these are all stressed on the first syllable. While words such as ahead, before, suppose, career are stressed on the second. Now, where words have their own stress pattern in this way, the stress is often called word stress or lexical stress. Now, what is accent? The term accent is sometimes used loosely to mean stress, referring either to prominence in a general way or specifically emphasis placed on certain syllables. Now, word stress or lexical stress is sometimes called word accent. So if a language has restricted tonal options such that two-syllable words are either high-low, like high tone on the first syllable and low on the second, or low-high. Then we might say words carry a high-pitched accent, which falls either on the first or the second syllable. Now, another thing about accent is the term accent is also used to refer to relative prominence within longer utterances. English is a noteworthy example. We see in English that a stressed syllable can be further accentuated relative to other stressed syllables. Now, here is an example. Hector started running. So the phonologist says that here the speaker is contradicting the addressee. Like, you say that Robert started running, but I assert that Hector started running. So we see the falling pitch is on the first syllable of Hector, and the pitch of the rest of the utterance is relatively unchanging and lower than the starting point. So the English speakers will perceive stress on the first syllable. Now, if we see the second sentence, we see that the falling pitch is on the second word, first syllable of the second word. So here it is, Hector started running, for the likely assumption that you would not have expected it, but it was Hector who started running. So Hector started running. So this is accent. Now let us try to understand what is pitch. As I said in the beginning of the discussion, that the term tone in a general sense is almost synonymous with pitch. As for instance, the English word no. No may be uttered with falling pitch as a definite refusal or denial. No. Or with rising tone as a query, checking whether a denial or refusal is intended. So no, no, and no. In English, we can identify a number of distinct pitches or pitch patterns, which can be considered as the tones in English. Now, here in English, the term tone takes on a systemic value because we recognize only a finite number of discrete tones, such as high, low, falling, rising, which are functional in the language. Now, in this sense, tone is not synonymous with pitch, because a tone in a linguistic system will be realized in such a way that it contrasts with other tones in the system while varying according to context. So in tone languages, we find that tones are directly associated with syllables or lexical items. Hence, to a speaker of a non-tone language, what seems to be just a word, lexical item, ma, are in fact 4 different words, depending on the context, depending on the associated tone. So let's see this Mandarin Chinese and Thai Kham-Thi. So in Mandarin, if I say ma with high level pitch, ma, that's mother. If I say with high rising pitch, mind it, it's high rising pitch. Ma, this is hemp. And if I say ma with a low dipping, so it is described as falling then rising. So it is low, ma, it's horse. And if I say ma with falling pitch, ma, then it is cold. So it is ma, 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 ma. In Thai Kham-Thi, we see with high level pitch, ma is dog. And with grave pitch, ma is horse. And with rising pitch, ma, mad. And with a falling pitch, ma, come. Now, the rising pitch in Thai, Khamti, and Mandarin is a little different. Now, let's talk about level pitch and gliding pitch. Pike makes a distinction between this level pitch and gliding pitch. So that's register tone and contour. Level pitch is register and gliding pitch is contour. Now, in a register system, there are distinctive pitch levels ranging from high, mid, low. These levels do not have absolute values. Rather than these are relative to each other. As for instance, a high tone will be perceived as high relative to any adjacent mid or low tone syllable. Thus, it is not possible to distinguish a two-syllable word with two high tones uttered in isolation from two-syllable word with two mid tones or two low tones, because it has no absolute values. So it can be only high tone can be perceived as high only when it is adjacent to a mid tone or a low tone. Now, on the other hand, in a contour system, it is the pitch movement or glide that is characteristic. Now, the contrast is seen among patterns such as falling, rising, dipping, rather than among relative heights or levels. As for instance, in Mandarin, I said one is rising pitch, ma, and the other is also rising, but it's falling and rising. It is like dipping. It's low dipping. So it is ma. Now, these kind of tones, creates perceptual confusion, which we will be discussing soon. Now, according to Pike, it might be necessary in case of some languages to distinguish tonal contours, not only in terms of the beginning and end points or the directions in which a glide, a contour takes place, but also in terms of the features like rate of rise or fall, correlation between time and distance of rise. Hence, tones could be distinguished diagrammatically, where the beginning and end points are similar. So let's see this, that will make things clear. Now you can see on the y-axis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can also see within the brackets 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the tones. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 tones. In Mandarin Chinese, there are 4 contrastive tones. First one is tone 1 is high level tone. That's 1. Ma. And then tone 2 is high rising from here. Ma. That makes things more clearer actually. Now in tone 3 is low dipping, therefore it's a V marked. It's from here. Ma, ma, or how. And tone 4 is the abrupt falling from 5 to 1, and hence it is ma. So in Mandarin, when it is said thank you, we say xie xie. It's the abrupt falling. So it's ma, 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 and ma. Ma, high level, ma, high rising pitch, and low dipping, ma, falling and rising. And tone 4 is high falling. So it's ma. Here comes perception of tones in Thai Kamti. So these are actually the tones: high, low, grave, rising, and falling. These 5 tones are contrastive tones, which are actually used in the vocabulary of language. And the rest are for prosodic purposes, which I'm going to explain to you. But before that, let me read these tones. Chokak Manpong, the native scholar, my Thai teacher, of course, taught me these. And I must sing those tones first. So when I went to his place and I told him that teach me Thai Khamti tones, and he says, it's very simple, you see, and it starts this way. Sung tam hat, kun lu, pot. So this is the Sapta Sur, the 7 tones of Thai Khamti. Okay. But there is a root tone symbol and depressed tone symbol, which I'll be explaining. And this tone 3, he marked it as tone 3, although I did it as tone 1, because tone 3, tone 4, tone 5, tone 6, and tone 7 are actually used in the vocabulary of language. So the tone 3 is high tone symbol with a normal high pitch. Tone 4, tam, is low tone symbol, somewhat lower pitch than high tone. But then there's another scholar, Kalingna Mannoy. They're also reviewing things. They're also working on the script and the tones. And he describes this tone as a straightforward tone with a feature of vibration. Now, this is Hat, tone 5, the grave tone symbol with a drawn guttural bass. So it's ma, ma. And tone 6 is kun, this rising tone symbol, rising pitch from guttural bass. And then there is this is tone 7 is a falling tone symbol, abruptly descending pitch, like ma. And then there's short tone symbol, abruptly halting pitch, so it's pot. And there's tone 9, lowest pitch of low tone. So tone 8 and tone 9 are used for prosodic purposes, which I'll be explaining to you now. So I say that Thai Khamti has 9 tones according to Chokak Manpung, but the 5 tones, tone 1 to tone 5, as I've marked, are contrastive tones used in the vocabulary of language. And as we see this, tone 6, and this is actually tone 7, tone 6 and tone 7 are used for prosodic purposes. Here are some examples. Now, what kind of prosodic purposes? Tone 6 is used for such things like, it says in case of driving away annoying people or animals, we say ja, ja. So we say ka, ka. So ka is actually go, but ka, it's a high level tone. So ka is go. But when we say go away, this can be replaced by ka, ka. So it is not possible to say ka, ka. That is not possible. So it is ka, ka. So this is marked with this tone, tone 6, and that's the short tone. In addition, we also find a small number of lexical items with tone 6. As for instance, exceptionally small I, it's ta is actually I, and ti is exceptionally small, so it's tati. So this is actually, they say this can be perceived as this short tone, tone 6. Or piche. So P is elder sibling and che is a deference term. So piche, che is also, as they perceive it as, probably this can be perceived as short tone. Now, what about this bass tone, tone 7? Tone 7 is perceived as when we say yes, it's like a note of affirmation. So like chow yao. Now chow yao, chow is actually true, And yao has many meaning. Yao actually means yao has a grave tone, that is tone 3. That is the uh, uh, drawn guttural bass, grave tone, yao, which means actually finish. But here, chow yao means very true, because chow with a low tone means true. So chow yao is very true. It's like expressing some affirmation. So chow yao, chow yao. So chow yao is this the tone 7. And Manpung also said that when we say, kin yao, yao is actually also used for perfective. So kin is eat and yao is finish. So it's a perfective aspect, which is eaten. Now, this kin yao, this is sometimes used as yao is marked with the bass tone, tone 7, instead of the grave tone, tone 3. So that's what he said. And this the other tones which you have seen, root tone and depressed tone, which Chokok Manpung has marked. He says that uh, when a consonant is pronounced in isolation, or when a child is reading out the alphabets, a root tone symbol is used. Because even in Thai scripts are also marked with tones, some kind of tones. So then they give this root tone symbol. And they say that's ka, kha, ga, ga, that's a root tone. And depressed tone is, I can explain to you this way, that there's a word like mango, which I've given it below. Mango is makmung. Mak is fruit, and mung has no meaning in isolation, but makmung is mango. Now, makmung is pronounced as mamung. So when it is mamung, it is abbreviated, then the depressed tone is used. But in script, I have always marked it as high level tone. Otherwise, it is very difficult to mark depressed tone. So in script, I have always marked it as high level tone, but in pronunciation, it's actually a depressed tone, mamung. Or unmau is pronounced as amang. So this a is perceived as a depressed tone. This is all about this perception of tones in Thai Khamti. And this is tonal contrasts. If you say tonal contrasts, this will also help us to understand tones. So kha is Thai, kha is split, and kha is criticized. Kha is to kill or slay, and kha is catch. So we see kha, 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 kha. And these have different meanings. Now let's go to this CVC structure. Kang. Kang is crossbow. Kang is middle or sambar. Kang is stack of firewood or 2 bamboos with crossbar. Kang is fishbone. And Kang is keep away from any evils. And there's another set of words, men. Men is clever. Men is capable of doing something. And men is porcupine. This is the perceptual confusion we're talking about. So we see that according to Chokak Manpung, his oral discussion, he says that it is possible to have alternate tones, like tone 2 and tone 5, in case of many words. Like tone 2 is low tone, and tone 5 is a falling tone. and tok. Both mean, tok means fall actually, but this can be perceived both as a low tone and as a falling tone. So if you yourself try, you will see that sometimes it is actually perceived as a falling tone, tok. And so also, this the second word, ko. Ko, sometimes it is perceived as a low tone and sometimes it is perceived as a falling tone, which means also. And the third is tupchan. So tup is low tone and chan is falling tone. This can also be pronounced as tupchan. Tupchan can be both. Tup can be both low tone as well as a falling tone. This can be perceived in two ways, which means veranda. Now this is a very common word. Kemsa, to be well. So kemsa is are you okay? Are you good? So kemsau. So this is a very common word, and kem can be pronounced in of course it's pronounced kem, but it's perceived uh, in two ways. Some perceives it as low tone, kemsa, and some can perceive it as a falling tone. So also another word, chio chio. So chio chio, it can be both, it can be low tone as well as falling tone. It's quickly. This is the kind of perceptual confusion I've come across, Tai Khamti, because while marking the tones, while marking it, I found this discrepancy. And then when I discussed with uh, uh, Mr. Manpung, that's what he told me. So what about Mandarin Chinese? Do we see the same thing? Yes, even in Mandarin Chinese, we find perceptual confusion. Um, this is said by Chuang, actually, according to Chuang and some other linguists in 1972. This I have taken from Fromkin's book on tones. He says that there's considerable variation across speakers with respect to initial glide and end glides, which made them suggest neither the falling and rising contour nor the position of the dip point in tone 3 alone can be perpetual cues to discriminate tone 3 from tone 2. Now, friends, just to remind you, tone 2 in Mandarin is high rising pitch, ma, and tone 3 is low dipping pitch, which is also rising, but falling and rising. So it is ma. The speakers, he says that the speakers tend to misidentify tone 2 as tone 3. So this is the perceptual confusion. Now the asymmetry of this perceptual confusion, he says that it is difficult to explain in terms of the physical similarity of their fundamental frequency contours. Okay, but perhaps he says it is not surprising. It won't be surprising when one considers the phonological relationship that obtains between tone 2 and tone 3. So why this kind of confusion arises? This is partly solved by the phonological relationship, which we'll be seeing now with tone 2 and tone 3, between tone 2 and tone 3. So we see that Mandarin Chinese is a phonological rule that neutralizes the distinction between tone 2 and tone 3 in the position preceding tone 3. As for instance, let's come to the example. The first one is Fen Chang, Fen is a high rising pitch, and chang is a low dipping pitch. It is falling and rising. So fen chang, absolutely no problem, because tone 2 and tone 3 are possible. So fen chang means graveyard. Now, what about this? The second word, fen chang, both are tone 3. So both tone 3 are not possible. So in this case, what happens? The first one becomes, the first one is perceived as tone 2, that is high rising pitch. So here it would be flower factory would be Fan Chang, same like the pronunciation will be same like the first one, like the graveyard. Graveyard is Fan Chang, absolutely no problem. But the second one is both are third tone, both are falling and rising, both are low dipping tone. But two tone threes are not possible. Hence, the first syllable of tone 3 will be changed to tone 2. So it becomes Fen Chang. Now, this is very interesting. Ni hao, this is again a very common example. Ni is the second person pronoun, you, and hao is good. Now, when it is this phrase, ni hao is hello, or how do you do? So when we meet each other, we might say, ni hao. So what happens? Both tone threes are not possible. The low dipping, the falling and rising, this tone 3 are not possible. Hence, the first syllable with tone 3 will change to tone 2. Hence, this will become ni hao instead of ni hao. It will be ni hao, or ni ha. Okay. So he says that it seems plausible that the direction of perceptual confusion between tone 2 and tone 3 reflects this more abstract linguistic relationship. Now, this is the example of tonal sandhi of Mandarin Chinese. Pu is, no, actually this should be P because ba is not pronounced in Mandarin. So it should be pa. So it's pu. Pu is no with a falling tone. Okay, pu is pronounced in the fourth tone as pu when it stands by itself. But when it is preceded by first, second, or third tone, but when it stands by itself or is preceded by first, second, or third tone. But when it precedes a fourth tone, pu is pronounced in the second tone. So, in other words, both fourth tone pus, both four tones are not possible. So this is with pu. As for instance, this is possible when I say pu mang, pu mang. Now, mang is busy. Now, if I say not busy, I will say pu mang, absolutely no problem. Because pu is the fourth tone, falling tone, and mang is the high rising pitch. So pu mang, not busy, fine. But pu she, not possible. Pu is not, and she is V verb. So pu will be pronounced in second tone, that is the high rising pitch. So it will be pu she, pu she. So the other one is also pu kechi, pu kechi. Now there are other tones on this also, like a third tone changes into a half third tone. That is a tone that only falls and does not rise. So it's a falling tone. Not an abrupt falling, but it's a falling tone when followed by a first, second, or fourth tone or most neutral tones. So third tone changes into a half third tone when followed by a neutral tone or a second tone, that is a high rising pitch, and a falling tone. So 2, 3 third tones are not possible. So you see here the first example, third tone plus first tone. Guang po. So Guang, third tone, Guangpo is Guangpo to broadcast. Oh, a third tone changes into half third tone. That is a tone that only falls and does not rise when followed by a first tone. So this will be Guangpo, Guangpo. So Guangpo to broadcast. Okay, so it's a third tone plus second tone will be Qi Chuang instead of Qi Chuang. So it is changed into falling tone. So Qi Chuang instead of Qi Chuang will be Qi Chuang. So these are the examples. These are the examples of tonal sandhi. So this is my last slide. So I come again to this one to repeat the sounds of these tones. Tones of Mandarin. One is first tone is high level pitch, so it is ma, and next is high rising pitch, so it's ma, and then there is tone 3 that is low dipping, is falling and rising, so it's ma, and then tone 4 is high falling, so it is ma or xie xie. That's thank you, xie xie. So in Mandarin, it is very nice. So it's a sing-song language like Tai Khamti. And to say, how is your health? It said, Ni shanti hao ma. Ni. So ni, here ni is properly pronounced. Ni shan is a level tone. Ti is falling and rising. So ni shanti hao ma. So it's a very nice, beautiful language, tonal. And hen ha, xie xie. So it's good, I'm fine, hen ha, and xie xie, which is again abrupt falling, which means thank you. Again, going to the perception of tones in Tai Khamti. Here I say, sung tam hat, kum lung pot. So the 5 tones are, which is very important to remember, is the level tones are very clear. Sung tam hat. Rising is kun, falling, lung. Here there is no problem, but here the rising has, one is high rising and the other is low dipping. So it is actually rising, falling and rising. One is ma, the other is ma, ma, ma. To this, thank you. Any questions? And we'll add more data from Tibeto-Burman languages, and we can work on the tones and look into the tones of Tibeto-Burman languages. How does it work? And there are how many tones?
Thank you so much, Dr. Bisakha, for this wonderful presentation. I'm sure we learned a lot. I would really like to encourage, we have a very healthy participation today. I would really like to encourage anybody who wants to ask Dr. Bisakha any question. The floor is right now open. In the absence of any questions, we must assume that Dr. Bisakha's talk was extremely successful and everybody understood everything. I think that's the main takeaway.
Yeah, I would actually request the scholars who are working on Tibeto-Burman languages to share their data, and if there's anything, they should actually share with me. And
yeah, please, you can also share your observations. Anybody who has been working on Tibeto-Burman and
yes. Sure.
Anybody who has been working in the field, you are welcome to share your inputs as well.
Yeah.
Dr. Bisakha.
Oh, yes.
Madam.
But there's one more lady who's asking, Gulnar, I think.
Yeah, I am Gulnar.
Yes, Gulnar.
It would be wonderful if you could introduce yourselves immediately when you ask, when you want to ask a question. and it will be helpful for us. Dr. Gulnar, please go ahead.
I am Gulnar. I don't know the ABC of Mandarin or the tonal differences. I just want to know if Dr. Bisakha has been to China ever.
No, I have done a certificate course in Mandarin so as to understand, to perceive tones of Thai Khamti. While I was doing my MPhil coursework, I started working on Thai Khamti and I was not able to perceive tones. I have done a certificate course in Mandarin, Delhi University, to understand tones. That's it.
Have you been to China? I'm asking.
No, no.
Okay. Apart from Mandarin, what dialects are there in Chinese? Apart from Mandarin?
Cantonese, I think.
Cantonese?
Yeah.
Okay.
There might be many, but that is not my area.
Yeah, I understand. Only the Cantonese and Mandarin are the two dialects in Chinese.
Yeah. Major, I think.
Apart from the tonal ups and downs, do eye movements also have anything to play in the conveying the meaning? Because I saw your eye movements up and down.
No. This has just happened because probably I am very expressive. Otherwise, this has nothing to do with eye movements.
Yeah.
Of course, the meaning changes as the tone changes. That is the main thing. Tone languages, when the tone changes, the meaning changes.
Yeah, even in English, when the accent changes, the tone, the meaning changes, but not the tone, the accent.
No, as I said, and this is just, there's only limited number of tones in English language. It's not a tonal language because all the syllables are not marked with tones. This is just, you see, as I gave an example of no, and no. No is a refusal and no is a query, or it's actually intonational and not tone language. Gulnar.
Yes, very interesting.
Thank you, Gulnar.
Anything about it was very interesting to follow. What you said was very interesting.
Thank you.
Follow easily.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Mosel. As somebody else was also.
Yeah, I think Dr. Khalik also had a question.
Can I just inform Madhuri? Can I just inform or add to what the lady was asking?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Please, absolutely.
Actually, in China, there are 302 languages according to the ethnologue. But there are 3-4 major dialects. One is the two that she mentioned, Bisakha. Others are, I think one is of the Shanghai variety. It is known as Shanghainese or something. And the fourth one, I don't remember, but there are 4 different major dialects, and then there are actually 302 languages as officially reported. Just to add to what this lady wanted to know.
Yeah, Gulnar asked that. Thank you, ma'am.
302 languages or dialects? Does she mean languages or dialects? 302 languages we have or dialects?
Well, that's a very large question. For that, the SEL must organize another conference. Generally, linguists don't distinguish between languages and dialects. Every that speech form that we encounter is a language on its own count.
Abhivab, literally the sentence that you uttered right now, this is the exact sentence, and I have quoted you this many a number of times, that whenever my students ask me what's the difference, ma'am, because I always use language variation, and everybody's like, why do you use language variation, or why do you not use the word dialect? Why do you just call it a language? Because it's not completely developed, because obviously they are BA first students, so that's why they use this terminology. And I've always said that any language form which is used to communicate, it's a complete language in itself, according to Padmashri Anvita Abbi.
No, you don't have to quote me by name, but it's very obvious because it's a very political question.
Yes,
right here in India, the Khadi Boli, which was known as a Boli, post-independently became a Bhasha. So now Hindi is a very standard major language, but Braj Bhasha, which was a Bhasha in itself and a very rich literature of hundreds of years, became a Boli today. And now Braj Bhasha is considered as a dialect of Hindi, which is absolutely topsy-turvy, situation. So we have many examples, even Europe also. There are so many languages which are considered varieties or dialects, but they are not dialects, they're independent languages. So let's not get into this. It will take another 1 hour. But yes, you can see the examples right away in our country, how Boli becomes Bhasha and Bhasha becomes Boli.
Yeah.
Dr. Khalid, please go ahead.
Can I?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am not a professional linguist. I am a community linguist. And I have been associating with Madam Bisakha since her Thai Khamti venture. Today, I happen to learn that she also sings. Just because of tone. And I am also happen to be a choir master. And from that point of view, I learned that my language, my community language has 5 tones. 5 tones. The term tone also only it came to me after associating with the professional linguist. Before that, it was only sound and voice. So my simple question is that, Madam Bisakha, did you do the singing profession or singing class or music class just because of tone or not?
No. You see, Mosel, we Bengalis, there's always singing Tagore and Najrul in our culture. Okay, so that was always there. But right from a very tender age, I only learned instrument, and that's guitar. So a classical guitar.
Okay.
But then I also sing, but I'm not a trained singer, of course. Yes.
Not necessarily for linguistic tones, right?
No, you see, there's a difference between this do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and this tone, because this is in a speech, and it is very difficult in a connected speech to make out what tone is this, whether this is a level tone or a rising tone. It is not easy. So that's why I got a training in Mandarin, because I have to get proper training to learn to perceive tone. The native speakers cannot teach me how to perceive tone, because I speak Bangla. There's no tone. Okay, so therefore, I used to learn the entire text of Mandarin in the class, and I used to, say that. I used to sing that probably, and that helped me to, to understand tones, to actually pronounce the right tones. I've done a lot of hard work, and I enjoy it because I love tonal languages.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bisakha, I have a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
please, Geeta, go ahead.
So you showed minimal pairs in all your data, right?
Yes.
So what about if a language is tonal, but it doesn't have minimal pairs? Because it's easy to perceive tone when, a language has minimal pairs, because there's always this difference of tone. It's quite easy that way and clear. But what if a language does not have a minimal pair to contrast tones?
Like it depends on how many you have in the language, whether it is just limited, finite, or infinite. Do I have 5 tones and it is functional all over the language, or it's just these many words where you find tones? That is the whole idea about.
Okay.
Like you have a high and low tone, as for instance, in only this limited number of words.
Mm-hmm.
So then probably that is a different kind of work altogether. And this is not a case as it is in tone languages. Because in tone languages, it is not possible to utter a single syllable without a tone.
What about Japanese? It's a pitch accent language.
It's intonational, I think. The
No,
Japanese.
no,
I have not. This is very
it
different.
has pitch. No, it has pitch accents. So
Yeah,
it's
so it
tonal
is.
in a way, but it does not have tones on every syllable. It
No,
has
it is.
tones on-
It is not like that. Yes, and you see, Udita, it's the Vietnamese is like this.
Mhm.
Vietnamese is a tone language.
Okay.
Yeah, Thai, Mandarin, these are all tone language.
Mhm.
Like it is not possible, I'm saying, to utter a syllable without a tone. I mean,
Mhm.
you cannot work on this language without a tone. So the first thing I had to do is I have to work on the tone. Otherwise, there's no point in actually writing the grammar.
Okay. Okay.
And if you
Thank
learn
you.
to sing the tones.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me, Bisakha, you may remember that, we know Punjabi has some lexical tones. And so there are words you rightly said, there are some limited words in this language, which are contrasted by tones like
Yeah.
kundi and kundi,
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
doesn't make Punjabi a tonal language.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so I
No.
think that's a good distinction you made. Thank you.
We have two hands raised. I would like to ask Ajay ji to please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Yeah. Please, Ajay.
नमस्ते जी, मैं
Yes,
हिंदी
Ajay.
में बोलूं मैं?
बोलिए ना.
एक तो मुझे ये दिक्कत हुई कि अंग्रेजी मुझे बहुत अच्छी नहीं आती, इसलिए समझ आपका प्रेजेंटेशन समझने में बहुत सुविधा
Sorry.
नहीं हुई मुझे।
अच्छा,
कोई बात नहीं,
बताइए, मुझे
मैं
बताइए.
ये शायद माधुरी जी रिकॉर्ड कर रही है, तो मैं इसको यूट्यूब से देख के मैं एक तो वैसे भी मैं स्लो लर्नर हूँ, तो मैं इंट्रोड्यूस करता हूँ अपने को। मेरे लैंग्वेज का नाम है पटनी। हिमाचल प्रदेश में लाहौल स्पीति जिला में वेस्टर्न लाहौल में ये बोली जाती है। लगभग 10,000 या 12,000 के आसपास हम स्पीकर्स हैं।
अच्छा।
तो मुझे लगता है कि ये टोन जो है हमारे लैंग्वेज में भी है, और मैंने कविता मैम को कहा था कि टोन्स के बारे में मैं जानना चाहता हूँ। तो एक तो मुझे बेसिक कंसेप्ट ही क्लियर नहीं हुआ कि पिच, एक्सेंट, टोन, स्ट्रेस, इस सब में क्या डिफरेंस है। मतलब ये स्टार्टिंग से लेकर इसके बेसिक्स मुझे समझने थे। एक तो ये मेरा था, और दूसरा ये था मैम कि मुझे लिखना है। अभी तक हमारे पास स्क्रिप्ट नहीं है हमारी भाषा का, तो हमारे पास हमारे सामने है रोमन और देवनागरी, दो लिपियां। भोटी भी है, भोटी बहुत कम लोग जानते हैं, जिसे टिबेटन कहते हैं।
हाँ,
तो
भोटी पता है मुझे।
हाँ जी, तो भोटी बहुत कम लोग जानते हैं, कुछ लोग जानते हैं भोटी भी, लेकिन जनरली हम ट्राई कर रहे हैं इसको प्रिजर्व करने के लिए देवनागरी और रोमन में। तो रोमन में आईपीए की कुछ क्लासेस दी हमें माधुरी जी ने, और कुछ और लोगों ने भी शायद, और लेकिन देवनागरी में हमें दिक्कत आती है। और ये टोन को हम कैसे रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं? जैसे आपने 5 टोन बताए, मैंडरिन और जो ताई खमती के, 5 या 6, 8-9 तक बताए शायद आगे पता नहीं। मुझे लगता है कि 3 टोन तक हमारे लैंग्वेज में भी है, हमारे वर्ड्स में भी है।
लेकिन सब वर्ड में है, मतलब ऐसा है क्या कि हर वर्ड में टोन है?
हर वर्ड में नहीं है, हर वर्ड में नहीं है, लेकिन काफी, मुझे लगता है कि 25% वर्ड्स में टोन है।
अच्छा।
लेकिन सेंटेंस में सच है या नहीं है ये मुझे मालूम नहीं, क्योंकि मैं लिंग्विस्ट नहीं हूँ, मुझे पता नहीं। लेकिन वर्ड्स में जो लिखते वक्त मुझे दिक्कत आती है। जैसे मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ, एक वर्ड है यंग्स, बूढ़ी के लिए यंग्स, सुनाई दिया? यंग्स, जा नहीं, यंग्स।
अच्छा।
और ये है बूढ़ी औरत के लिए, एक है यंगजा, इसमें जा है, इसमें आ एक और एडिशनल आ है शायद, इतनी थोड़ी सी मैं समझता हूँ। तो ये 2 है। यंगजा जो बाद में जो बोला मैंने मक्खी के लिए है, और जो पहला वाला शब्द है यंग्स, वो बूढ़ी औरत के लिए है। इस तरह के डिफरेंसेस हैं, क्योंकि हमें लिखते वक्त तो हमें देवनागरी या इंग्लिश लिखेंगे तो लगभग एक जैसा लिखना पड़ता है। हम हा बीच में या,
हा डाल के या उसको महाप्राण करके थोड़ा कर सकते हैं, लेकिन
हाँ।
बाद वाला जो पोर्शन है उसको हम नहीं कर पाते। ये दिक्कत थी मेरी, ये मैं जानना चाहता था कि कैसे इसको लिखे।
तो मुझे लगता है कि लिमिटेड होगा ना, तो आप लोग जैसे जैसे ये जो मैंने एग्जांपल दिया था इंग्लिश का, हेक्टर स्टार्टेड रनिंग, हेक्टर
जी।
स्टार्टेड रनिंग, ये आपने देखा,
हम्म।
मैंने एक फॉलिंग पिच दिया था, वो फॉलिंग पिच है एक्चुअली। तो ये मैंने ऐसे दिया था ना, एक ऐसे एक मार्क दिया था, एक लाइन दिया था मैं, जो
जी।
इसलिए मैंने से ये एग्जांपल मैंने पढ़ा था कि हेक्टर स्टार्टेड रनिंग, हेक्टर स्टार्टेड रनिंग। तो ये जो, तो ऐसे स्ट्रेस आप एक दो जगह में देने से क्या ये समझ में आता है? मतलब डिस्टिंग्विश कर सकते हैं दोनों वर्ड में? जैसे ये
हाँ।
अलग हो गया, ये है विदाउट दैट एक्सेंट, ये है एक्सेंट, इसमें है पिच, एक पिच है, इधर पिच नहीं है। तो ऐसे भी हो सकता है। और नहीं तो मैं आपका लिमिटेड वर्ड्स, आप जो वर्ड्स है वो सब आप रिकॉर्ड करके दीजिए, और हम
कुछ
लोग
कुछ कुछ
करेंगे।
कुछ हमने दिए हुए। हाँ, मैं दे सकता हूँ जो
हाँ,
जिनमें बिल्कुल अपेरेंट डिफरेंसेस है ना,
हाँ,
लेकिन लिखने बोलने में, लेकिन लिखने
हाँ।
में लगभग वैसा ही लिखना पड़ता है मैं देवनागरी और उसमें रोमन में। तो वो दिक्कत आती है, वो कंफ्यूजन हो जाती है पढ़ने वाले को,
हाँ, तो वो
इसलिए
एक
ये।
मार्क देना ही पड़ेगा आपको। एक मार्क आपको
ओके।
लगता है कि वो एक मार्क, एक पिच मार्क देने से ये और इसमें फर्क पता चलेगा, तो आपको मार्क देना पड़ेगा। वो देने
ओके।
से क्या आपका मतलब, बिकॉज यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट स्क्रिप्ट अजय, इजंट इट?
हाँ जी।
यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट स्क्रिप्ट के बारे में आप बोल रहे हैं ना, तो स्क्रिप्ट में आप
जी। जी।
कैसे उसको करेंगे कि उसको उसमें
हाँ 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 हाँ।
इसको और इसमें, इस वर्ड में और उस वर्ड में कैसे फर्क रखेंगे?
जी जी जी
तो
जी
मुझे तो
वही।
लगता है कि यू बोथ, मतलब मेरा ये आप देख लीजिए, और मुझे लगता है कि एक आपको तो मार्क से देने से आसान होगा, तो दीजिए आप एक स्ट्रेस मार्क, सॉरी एक पिच मार्क, फॉलिंग पिच।
हाँ, लेकिन मुझे वहां लगता है कि कई टोन्स हैं, एक तो एंड में आ रहा है और एक शुरू में, या यंगजा, यंगजा।
हाँ, तो यंग, देखिए यहाँ पर दो सिलेबल है,
हाँ जी। हाँ,
यंग और
वो
जा।
मुझे मालूम नहीं ना, लेवल क्या है, ये पिच
हाँ,
क्या है, ये
हाँ,
सारी
हाँ।
चीजें, इसलिए मुझे दिक्कत आई थोड़ी समझने में।
अच्छा, अच्छा, अच्छा।
हाँ,
हाँ,
तो चलिए, मैं सेल वालों से, आप भी शायद सेल की ही मेंबर होंगी, तो
हाँ,
मैं,
हाँ,
ये
हाँ,
माधुरी जी, कविता जी तो शायद लेफ्ट हो गई, वो कहीं, उनको कहीं और जाना
हाँ,
था। तो मैं,
हाँ,
इनसे मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है, माधुरी जी अगर सुन रही हैं तो कुछ क्लास ऐसा चाहिए जो बिगिनर्स के लिए हो, बिल्कुल हम जैसे बिगिनर्स के लिए, और स्लो लर्नर्स के लिए, अगर हिंदी मीडियम में पढ़ाया जाए तो बहुत अच्छा है।
अच्छा, 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 ठीक है,
हाँ जी, ये तीन
ठीक है
चीजें
अजय।
थी। और हमारा पर्पज है उसको हम लिखना है हमको, कि कैसे लिखें। साउंड रिकॉर्डिंग आपको जो भी कहेंगे वो हम भेज सकते हैं रिकॉर्ड
हाँ,
करके,
मुझे
कुछ
लगता
कुछ
है
तो
कि
भेज।
आपको ना वो स्ट्रेस, वो पिच मार्क देना पड़ेगा, एक लाइन जैसे मैंने दिया था ना, मैं दो
ओके।
सेंटेंस देके जो लाइन दिया था, मुझे लगता है ऐसे देने से शायद आपका ये कुछ हाल हो सकता है,
हाँ,
मुझे ऐसे
मैम
लगता है।
ऐसा करेंगे, उन कुछ वर्ड्स को मैं रिकॉर्ड करके भेज दूंगा,
ठीक है,
तो उस पर कुछ मुझे रिस्पांस मिलेगा कि इसको कैसे, मतलब सजेशंस
ठीक,
मिलेंगे कि इसको ऐसे लिखा जा सकता है
जी,
करके।
मैं कोशिश करूंगी जी। जी,
हाँ, क्योंकि इसका कुछ स्टैंडर्ड तो कुछ नहीं है ना, हमें
अच्छा,
हमें अपने हिसाब से करना पड़ेगा।
जी, जी, ऐसे बहुत
जी।
लैंग्वेजेस है अरुणाचल प्रदेश में, जो
जी।
मतलब कुछ कुछ जैसे इंग्लिश रोमन स्क्रिप्ट यूज कर रहे हैं, पर कुछ कुछ साउंड है जो रोमन
राइट।
स्क्रिप्ट में नहीं है, तो इन लोग
जी।
डिवाइस किया है सिंबल, मतलब
अच्छा,
तो करना पड़ेगा, जैसे है।
खुद करना पड़ेगा हमें।
नहीं, जैसे रोमन स्क्रिप्ट में वो साउंड है नहीं, तो वो क्या
जी।
करेगा? उसको तो हमें कुछ एक सिंबल देना पड़ेगा ना, क्योंकि ये ई नहीं है, ऊ नहीं है, है, तो कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा यहाँ पर।
हाँ 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 हाँ।
तो ऐसे डिवाइस करते हैं, मतलब ये बार बार चेंज भी होता है, तो जैसे ये किया है तो रिवाइज करके फिर उसको दूसरा कर दिया, पर दे आर यूजिंग, उन लोग मतलब अपना सिंबल डिवाइस करते हैं, क्योंकि सब चीज
ओके।
तो, सब साउंड तो रोमन में नहीं रहेगा ना,
जी।
रोमन में थोड़ी ना
जी।
सब साउंड और ये सब पिच रहेगा, वो तो नहीं रहेगा।
नहीं नहीं है उसमें, हाँ।
तो हम लोग वी हैव टू डिवाइस इट,
ओके।
क्योंकि अरुणाचल में भी ऐसे ही कर रहे हैं। बहुत
ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच अजय जी. We have taken your suggestion into consideration. In fact, हम लोग सोच ही रहे थे कि we will have a tone का entire class itself, a workshop itself, starting from the very basics, and probably इस आपके सवाल से और इस discussion से उसको थोड़ा सा और push मिल जाएगा. So thank you very much, Ajay ji. Can we please move on to Wendy? Wendy also has her hand raised.
Yes,
So if Wendy can
please.
ask a question, and I saw Abhi ma'am unmute herself in the middle. So ma'am, if you want to add something, you're welcome. Or agar aap,
No, it's
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
I think I'll take it later. But to Ajay ji, I
ठीक है,
just
बात
wanted to say that आप जो दो शब्दों का उच्चारण कर रहे हैं, उन शब्दों का उच्चारण वो जैसे कि विशाखा बता रही थी कि वो उच्चारण में भिन्नता है, उसका कारण ये है कि जो दूसरा शब्द है उसमें आप एक स्वर का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं और जो पहला शब्द है वो व्यंजन में खत्म हो रहा है, तो वो अपने आप में शब्द ही अलग अलग हैं. जहां तक मुझे याद है पटनी में कोई टोन नहीं है, मतलब इट्स नॉट ए टोनल लैंग्वेज. टोन्स है, टोन्स तो हर भाषा में होती है, पर इंटोनेशन होती है जैसा कि विशाखा ने बताया. तो
नहीं, उतनी
ये
ज्यादा नहीं है जी.
जहां तक ङ का सवाल है, आप ङ को ग की तरह ग से ना लिख के अंगा से लिखिए, क ख ग घ ङ. ये जो अंगा जो आखिर का अक्षर है ना ङ, ये है ही न और ज का मिश्रण है. मैं इस अक्षर को बहुत यूज करती हूँ अंडमानी लिखने के लिए, क्योंकि उनकी भाषा में भी ङ का प्रयोग बहुत ज्यादा है. खैर ये बात कि आपके दो शब्द ही भिन्न भिन्न हैं, तो उसमें टोन की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. उसमें ये है कि जो दूसरा शब्द है बूढ़ी औरत के लिए, वो स्वर में खत्म हो रहा है, आ में खत्म हो रहा है, और जो दूसरा पहला शब्द है वो व्यंजन में खत्म हो रहा है, तो शब्द अलग है. तो जहाँ आ में खत्म हो रहा है उसकी समस्या ही नहीं, आप आ की मात्रा लगा दीजिए.
नहीं मैम, एक तो ङ और न्या का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है मेरा है या और या का प्रॉब्लम है स्टार्टिंग में, और एंड में वो सही करें. एक स्वर में खत्म हो रहा है, जा में खत्म हो रहा है, और एक व्यंजन में, एक जा में खत्म हो रहा है और एक आ में खत्म हो रहा है व्यंजन में, स्वर में. वो सही कह रहे हैं आप, लेकिन ये शब्द अलग हैं, ये टोटली अलग है, और मुझे लगता है कि इसमें टोन है. एक और एग्जांपल देता हूं मैं आपको.
लगने से
नहीं, आप सही हो सकती है मैम, आई एम नॉट ए लिंग्विस्ट. आप सही हो सकती है. एक और एग्जांपल देता हूं मैं. चक्सी, ये दो शब्द है. चक्सी, हाँ, चक्सी.
नहीं, इसमें टोन नहीं है.
चक्सी. मैं एक और बोलता हूँ, चक्सी.
There can be a
ये दो अलग शब्द हैं. एक है चुभोना और एक है धोना. ठीक है.
अच्छा.
हाँ,
ये तो लग रहे हैं अलग अलग. या
हाँ, इसी तरह से थकजी, उसने सहन किया. थकजी, तोड़ दिया. टोन है या नहीं पता नहीं, कुछ है, कुछ डिफरेंस है, बट लिखने में हमें दिक्कत आती है इसको. लिखना तो एक जैसा ही पड़ेगा दोनों को, है ना. ये शब्द इस तरह के बहुत सारे शब्द हैं.
एक वर्कशॉप करनी पड़ेगी कि किस तरह से भाषा को लिप्यांतर किया जाए. भाषा को लिप्यांतर करना भी एक बहुत कठिन काम है, पर ये भी पर ये काम भी होना है देश में, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. बहुत अच्छा.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you so much, Ajay ji, for this wonderful discussion. Wendy, if you're still here, please go ahead and ask your question. I think she might have left.
No,
I am so sorry. Oh yeah, you're here. Yes. Yes, you are.
Here. Yeah. So yeah, hello everyone. Thank you, Madhuri, for the time, and Dr. Bisakha. I am Wendy from IIT Guwahati, and I'm doing PhD on acoustic phonetics and phonology of tones. And I have missed about 85% of the talk due to technical issues. So I have a very basic question, which is the methodology that you use for perceptual experiment. Yeah, what is the methodology that you adopted for this study? Thank you.
Look, the basic is acoustic, but I have not studied, I have not gone for these things. I have learned it the way one learns songs, okay? Because as I said, I have learned Mandarin. I did a certificate course in Mandarin. So when I did certificate course in Mandarin, I have learned to perceive tone. So I can understand, you see, the two tones which I gave, the examples of two tones I gave, one is, both are rising. One is ma, high rising, and the other is low dipping and falling and then again rising. Ma. So when these things became clear to me, I was able to perceive tone, because I used to take recordings, narratives of Thai Khamti, and I have also worked on the folk tales, and this way I'm able to perceive tones.
Oh,
Also,
so basically,
also there they have, so far as Thai Khamti is concerned, how to confirm? Probably, Wendy, that will be your question. Like, am I pronouncing the right? Tone,
yes,
isn't it?
yes, because yes, as I said, that I have missed around 85% of the
No, that's all
first
right.
part of the total tone. So I was, so basically your perceptual experiment is from your perception mainly, right? Your perception, not the Thai Khamti or any other community.
No, let me tell you. Let me
Perception
explain
of
to
Thai
you, Wendy.
Khamti.
No,
Okay.
Wendy, let me explain to you how I have learned the tones. First, as I'm saying that I have studied Mandarin and my ears became clean and I was able to perceive tone. I was also taught by the Thai Khamti speakers. And then I was able to perceive. Because when Thai Khamti speakers were teaching me that these are the tones, sung tam hat kun lu, what I did not understand. When in words and in narratives, it is not possible to perceive and to mark the tones. But when I did a certificate course, a proper course in Mandarin from Delhi University, that helped me to perceive tones. And then, along with their teaching, I did it. And another thing, Wendy, Thai Khamti also has script. So I had a chance to confirm if I'm right or wrong. And therefore, you see, probably you have seen those those slides where I said that chio chio and chio chio, the perceptual confusion. So I was saying that what is happening? Am I doing wrong? Chio chio. But sometimes it appears like it's a falling tone, and sometimes it's like a low tone, chio chio. But it's the way it is pronounced. So the native speaker said it is possible to mark it both as low tone and also as falling tones. But this is in case of few words. I mean, limited number of words, I should say. Limited number of words. This happens. Like Khemsa. So Khemsa can be sometimes perceived as low tone and sometimes like a falling tone. So after coming through this confusion, I have discussed with my teacher, Chaukok Manpo. And then he told me, you are right there. It is possible to perceive it in two ways. You got my point. So I had a chance, to confirm things because they have script. But it's just that I could not learn these things from the native speakers. I need a proper training. And that certificate course helped me in Mandarin.
Yeah, so basically you are the main participant of this experiment. Is that what I could say?
Sorry?
You like because is it like you are the main participant for this study?
Nothing like that, Wendy. You can also do it.
No. Because some of the perceptual experiments, like they would take many participants, even if they are non-tonal language speakers, they train them, or like they do not train them, and then they would just give them the stimuli and would play, and then they would hit some button which says that okay, it sounds like this tone, it sounds like this tone. So in your present study, it basically it is your perceptual, your personal perception. Okay, that is actually what I wish to know. How many participants are participated and all this. But yeah, it's a wonderful
you
work.
see, those people, those students who were learning Mandarin was able to perceive tones, but they were doing only Mandarin studies, okay, in the certificate course. But I was doing it for some other reason, for my research in Thai Khamti. But then that was strengthened, you see, with a good base, because I have learned now to perceive tones in Mandarin. So I know to perceive tones. Now there are speakers of Thai Khamti. They are all teaching me, helping me. And so it was not difficult. Moreover, I could also confirm with the script, am I right or wrong? So that was this way I have learned the tones.
Yeah, you were right, of course. Yeah, I understand. So yeah, basically the experiment is based on one participant, and
Yes.
yeah, you, Dr. Bisakha, that's really wonderful. I really appreciate that you learn Mandarin also. So yeah, hope to work with you in the future.
Yes, sure, Wendy. Keep connected. All the best.
Thank you very much, all of you. I think we have overshot our time today. So,
Yes.
and I'm, like I said, it was a wonderful discussion. And I'm, like I said in the beginning itself, the proof of the questions and the absence of the questions, and then the presence of such a wonderful lively discussion is that your talk has been a success. Anvita Bab is unmuted. Bab, if you would like to.
No, I said, well, I just wanted to say that even I learned a lot of things, though I had been in touch with Bisakha for many, many years, and we had discussed things.
Pranam.
Very well done. Yeah, I think
Thanks.
your talk only motivates us, especially the SEL organizers, to have a workshop where we have a direct interaction like we had with Ajayji. So, then you can hear the sounds and then you can correct and ascertain what kind of tones there are, or are there any tones at all. So thank you very much for this presentation, and thanks SEL to organize this. Thanks, Madhuri.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Dr. Bisakha. And thank you so much, all of you who asked questions. And we'll see you again in the next lecture and the next workshop, possibly on tones that we organize. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.